With us now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, unfortunately unable to grasp the heavyweight championship from the Hulk.
Let me tell you something right now. It was a conspiracy. Everybody saw out there what happened. I had him beat on the pile driver. Did the referee go down and go 1, 2, 3? He went 1, 2, and he got up. He didn't even hit the 3 count. The man was beat. Everybody knows he was beat. The fact is that Hulk Hogan did not pin me in the middle of that ring right there. I took everything he had to offer. Then look at this, Hogan. You think you're going to get away with this, brother? There'll be another time. There'll be another place, Hogan. But you didn't beat me. I had to beat a conspiracy. There's 2 referees and 30,000 people. And you still didn't beat me. You still didn't beat me, Hogan.
A rather disgruntled Paul.
What's it gonna do? Wrestling God's Pillar. WBCB presents. That's cool. Are you talking to me? Pro Wrestling Radio. Come get some. Can you feel it? Oh, the damn bull. Call in with a question or comment. 6-1. Just bring it. What is he doing? At 1-888-922-2149. Oh, it's true. Don't make me hurt you. Be awesome. To be the man, you got a dance hall time. I hate your ever. And now your host of the show. That's how I roll. Excuse me. And that's the bottom line.
Good afternoon and welcome to a very special edition of Pro Wrestling Radio. We will be on for an extended show today up until 1:30. But for the first hour of the show, it will be a true honor as I am joined at this time by a man that gave me so much joy and so much entertainment as a fan growing up, going to the Philadelphia Spectrum every month, a man who just even up to a few weeks ago gave me enjoyment watching his tapes and DVDs from the 80s, the 90s, the 70s, one of, if not the greatest of all time. He is a Hall of Famer, Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff. Paul, welcome to the show.
Hey.
How are you?
I love that introduction. And everything you said, Eric, everything you see, you're a man that knows. And there are people out there that knows the truth. There's no doubt about it. I should have been the world heavyweight champion.
You really should.
WWF, and you are exactly right.
You really should have been. You know, I've been watching tapes over and over again, and you and I talked about this in setting up the interview, and I've been talking about you for the last couple of weeks here on the radio show, and just watching your matches now from a different perspective, from a mechanics perspective, from a psychology perspective, I really think that you were the greatest heel of all time.
Well, I appreciate that, and people don't know the energy, the work, the blood that I put in that. I wasn't an entertainer. I tried to go out there and do it as real as it could possibly be done, better than it could be done by anybody else. None of this showboat and the golden robes and all this stuff that when you walk out and woo this and woo that. I didn't work that way. I was a street fighter, always have been when I was growing up. Played high school football, junior high football, college football scholarship, drafted by the Saints. That was the real deal. And it just goes to prove to you and to you people out there, and a lot of you other guys out there and you young people, that just because, you know, you're the best at something, you don't always get what you want. And that was very frustrating to me, to work so hard, to be in the gym, to be, you know, to have it all. Looks, I didn't have to dye my hair. I wasn't bald-headed. I wasn't fat. I mean, I should have had it. But yet, you got people, these promoters, that do the opposite because somebody stands up for what they think was right or wrong.
How involved, when you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And that's where I stood at, you know.
Yeah.
I was too serious, I guess.
You know, it's interesting, and you just made an excellent point when you brought up the fact that you were out there fighting, and your matches, it was like watching as close to a fight as you could possibly get. And I want to tell you something that one of your peers, Tito Santana, recently said about you. He recently said, I was watching an interview with Tito, and somebody had asked him about Hulk Hogan, and he said the problem with Hulk Hogan was the first time around, he didn't draw money like Bruno and Backlund did on the rematches. However, when Hogan was wrestling you guys drew so much money, and you were the best drawing opponent for Hogan because you were the only one that had the credibility where people realized and people knew you could beat him.
Well, and I've said this many times about Tito Santana. I had probably the best matches I've ever had with anybody was with Tito. And Tito, was an ex-Kansas City, drafted by the Chiefs, and Tito had the same attitude as I had in the ring.
Yeah.
Same attitude. And I felt the very same about him. And those comments, Tito's a school teacher now. He's a coach, and Tito was very intelligent back then. I mean, Tito had a smart head on him. Tito knew how to play the game, and I just wish that I could have played the game like Tito did, and also keep his honor. And Tito did that into his people.
Yeah. I remember as a fan around that time where you were hot and Tito was hot. And just as a fan, I always wanted to see you guys matched up in a series, in a feud for the Intercontinental title, because even as a fan, I would watch your matches, and you were constantly go, go, go. Tito's matches were always constantly go, go, go. And as a match, I always wanted to see.
Well, I wish they had it, but they didn't. We did wrestle against each other, but, I would have loved to have done that. But I think that probably it would have taken away from everything else, because I wrestled Tito in a couple of places, and one of them was in California, L.A. And I'm telling you, when I picked Tito up, they were throwing oranges, they were throwing eggs. I had a guy, when I had him in the pile driver, and I had him picked up for the pile driver, a guy literally jumped in the ring, went by the security, and jumped on my back.
Wow.
And if it hadn't have been for that guy, Tito Santana would have got pile drove. But, the police came, and it just happened to be a mess. And when the guy came in, and just as he was there, I gave him a good kick right in the mouth, and that kind of laid him out there, and they got him out. But still, it interrupted our match, and we didn't really get to finish it. But and that was the God's truth. What I just told you wasn't no lie. It was true. That really did happen.
Yeah.
We were made for each other. But Hogan too. I had good matches with him, and it's no reflection of his talent and everything. And he was chosen. He was the chosen, and he did it. He. No disrespect to him, but he drew money. He drew a lot of money. He drew money with everybody. And but I also think, there was a time that if they had have done it and done it the right way, he would have been on a different level, higher than even he was. Maybe he would have drawn, the second time around with other people. Who knows?
Sure.
And, it would have been better for everybody. But yet, they didn't.
Yeah. If you break down the economics of it and you take inflation into account, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I have to think that you and Hogan, taking the first run and especially the second run and just looking at the match you guys had in Toronto, I would have to think that as a feud, you guys drew more money than anybody.
Well, yeah, I think so too. And it's because we did it everywhere we went.
Yeah.
And we didn't do it the first time. The second time, we drew consistently, and our matches got better, and really, I made Hogan. That's simple. I made him.
Yeah.
And he knows it, but then again, you know, he made me too, in a way.
Right.
And it was good for wrestling. It was a lot better for Vince McMahon and Hogan than it was for me financially. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's life, and I like to do these shows like this. That way, I can express the way I feel.
Yeah.
And my attitudes with some things and people.
Sure.
And to have somebody, Eric, as knowledgeable as you are, because I don't do this to everybody. I'll be honest with you. And just to feel your talk and the way you said and the way you approached, if you're, you know, pulling the wool over my eyes, you did a good job. But I kind of believe in the way you talk and what you said, and so therefore that's why I honor you with doing this.
Wow, well, I have chills. I have chills with you saying that. I really do, because I just have so much respect for you that, again, I put you up there as number one. And I was saying this about you before you even agreed to come on the show. So,
well, you know, I hear this from a lot of people, and a lot of people, even to this day. And, you know, people all say all these good things about certain things, but
sure.
People that was really knowledgeable, and you can tell some of them.
Yeah.
And I agree with them. I mean, I'm not going to say something that, oh, no, I didn't this or I didn't that. But, you know, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I worked too hard.
Yeah.
I worked so hard for it that it was unreal. I went overboard.
Wow. I want to ask you, because, you know, the thing I noticed, and I think we talked about this on the phone a little bit, the thing I noticed about you, which was so different than everybody else, was the second you walked through the curtain, you were entertaining the audience just by the way you looked at them, by the way you moved, by the timing of the way you moved, and you were just so great at getting the audience not only to hate you, but to just cheer whoever it was, whether it was Hogan or Salvatore Bellomo, that you were wrestling. The fans just wanted them to beat you and beat you. And what I want to ask you is, can you credit anybody with mentoring you along the way as to how to be such a great heel?
You got to realize, what I did was this. Physically, the physical and the attitude and the viciousness and the meanness and all these things I had.
Right.
And what I did, and nobody gave that to me. That's just a God-gifted. I played football the same way. If I could knock your head off, I did.
Yeah.
I would. And I felt good about it.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth. That's the way I was. I can't help that. That's just the mentality that I had.
Sure.
But what I did is I picked a little from this guy. I picked a little from that guy. You know, I listened to Bob Orton Sr., Bobby's father, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And he told me what you do is you get everybody to watch you. You want the focus to be on you when you get in the ring. So whatever you do, you want everybody to be watching you, not the other guy. And that's what I did. So I would do things, and I knew that nobody had that type of what's that word? Endurance. To go out there and do and to do this and then do that without, I mean, just aggression, all the time, aggression, and things that just made people mad, and that just came natural. Ask my wife. I mean, my God, you know, I could do anything.
Wow.
And that make her mad, or anybody else mad. Just little this and little that and little the way you move your body and the little just things that would just make the average person or anybody mad.
Yeah.
And I was good at it.
Do you think that...
And too good at it.
Do you think in today's wrestling and the last couple of years, do you think that's a lost art form? I was just talking to one of your peers, Sid Vicious, last weekend.
Yeah. Good.
And he was telling me that he got so much throughout his career of just being able to stand there and look at a crowd and just the way that he stood and you too, and he was talking about how today the younger guys, the heels and babies, they go out there and do so much that the fans don't even get a minute to absorb a second of it.
He's absolutely right. And no, listen, I don't care what generation it is, this or that. You could take Red Skelton, or you could take some of these comedians, the older comedians, and they could, and you watch the timing they had and everything, and what they said and everything, and right today they could do the same thing. You don't have to say a bunch of cuss words. You don't have to say this, to say that, to get the attention of the people. What you do is you learn what you do. You learn the art of what you're doing, and the people, they will get with it. And what's happened is the promoters have let this go on because it's easier. And these guys don't know what, it's not so much their fault. But I challenge anybody that can go out and grab a hold and work it. But I mean to work it viciously. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of mixed martial arts. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And watch some of that stuff, watch it, listen, Vince better not worry about anybody else getting into the wrestling or whatever. He's got to worry about UFC, who he's got to worry about, because they are just packing them.
Yeah.
Packing them. And that's all they're talking about. And that's, because of all this off the ceilings and things that they're doing now, and through ladders, and this, it's just too much. And you've taken the response out of the people. They sit there and watch them do a bunch of moves, a bunch of aerial stuff, acrobatic stuff, and you're doing nothing to get them into the match, to make them mad, or to do this, or to do that really gets them into the match. You've taken them out of the match, and the only thing they applaud on is if somebody does an unreal move.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Another one of your peers who I've had on the radio show, probably more so than just about anybody the 9 years that I've been on the air, is Bruno Sammartino. And, I was talking to Bruno a couple of weeks ago about all the different wrestlers that he wrestled when he came out of his retirement in the mid-'80s. And you were the only one that he talked about that he had a fondness for. He said he loved wrestling you and really made a point to say good things about you.
I got a lot of respect for Bruno from the day one that I met him. And he's a man that he says what he feels.
Yep.
And and he doesn't back up to any of these guys and promoters or whomever else. And he says what he thinks.
Yeah.
If it's wrong, he'll say, well, let's try this or try that. And hey, I'm all for him. And the guy drew nothing but money.
Yep.
He's probably the biggest name, man. Bruno Sammartino, man. He's up there with, the old boxers and the old legends there. I mean, his name is synonymous with anybody in wrestling world. And Madison Square Garden, you think of Bruno.
Yeah.
I mean, and I was in awe when I worked with him. And we worked several shows, and I could not believe where was that at? Pittsburgh. I mean, sold the place out. The people rioted almost. I had to have what's the fella? The big guy. He used to wrestle, and he passed away here a number of years ago.
Big John Studd?
No. He worked for Vince. He was in, oh, golly. He was an agent for him.
Oh.
I hate that. I get lost for words. I can't think of whom I'm thinking of. But he was an agent. He had to come to the ring and get me out of the ring.
Wow.
And because it was getting bad because I beat his Bruno's son up, and he still had it. And I had so much respect for him, and to go in there and try to. I went in there and had a good match with him. That's what I wanted to do. And that was the way I operated. I wanted to have good matches with anybody, unless they were a jerk.
Right.
And then I didn't.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask if you can hang on the line. I'll take a quick break, and when we come back from the break, we'll hear another one of your classic Mr. Wonderful interviews that I could listen to all day.
Thank you.
Excellent. My pleasure. We are speaking to the legendary Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, a true bona fide Hall of Famer. He is here with us for the entire hour. And in about 10 or 15 minutes, we will start taking calls from you, the fans out there, and you will have an opportunity, if you would care to speak to, in my opinion, the greatest heel of all time, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. My name is Eric Arjulo. You're listening to Pro Wrestling Radio in a couple of places. One, live online on WBCB1490.com, archived on my website at ProWrestlingRadio.com, and on the air on WBCB 1490 AM.
Here at Philadelphia at the Spectrum.
Most of all, how do I look, Gene, huh?
Not looking bad. You're not looking bad.
How's the robe looking, huh?
Decent.
Can you say that for Hogan? Look at his hair. Every time he combs his hair, it all falls out. Look at him. Look at all this hair here, huh?
Wait a minute.
Look it out,
That's
huh?
a sensitive
Look at his hair.
subject.
Look at his face. He looks like a 60-year-old man. Look at him. Look at his body. It's flabby.
Oh.
Everything about him is fake. Everything. He don't deserve that belt. He doesn't deserve to be the world's heavyweight champion. Mr. Wonderful should have that belt. Mr. Wonderful is going to have that belt. Because you know something, Hogan? You're not that big, brother, that I can't just pick you up and drop you right on your head and be about 8 inches shorter, Hogan. I don't like you. I never have liked you, Hogan. There's nothing about you that I like. And I want one thing that you got, my man. And I'm going to do every damn thing within my will to get it. And I don't care if I got to... Don't you tell me what to say. Don't you tell me nothing what to say. And the first sign that I see out there, that says Paul on it, Hogan, you're going to pay deeply. Because I want that belt. And what Mr. Wonderful wants, he gets.
And now back to more Pro Wrestling Radio. I'm your host of the show, Eric Arjulo.
Welcome back to a very special edition of Pro Wrestling Radio. And you just heard him, and you can hear him live. And again, it is an honor to be joined by Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Paul, I have to ask you a question. Did you get in trouble for making a comment about the hair?
Get in trouble?
I always heard stories.
Get in trouble with?
I always heard stories about the quote-unquote memos that the guys weren't allowed to say anything about Hogan's hair.
I said what I thought.
Yeah.
Hey, before we start this, if Bruno's out there listening, how you doing, Bruno? Love you. The utmost respect for you, Bruno. Thank you, man. Thank you for the matches.
That's awesome.
But anyway, about Hogan's hair, hey, was it the truth?
It was the truth.
Case closed.
What happened that you made the news after the Hall of Fame for not shaking Hogan's hand? Was there something behind that?
I never cared for him.
Yeah.
I don't hate him. There's very few people I hate. The older you get, you let that go.
Yeah.
I may not like, people.
Sure.
And we're all that way. We all don't live in the, we're all different. I mean, if we were all the same, we'd all be living in each other's houses. But
right.
We're not.
Yeah.
And, he took care of himself. He was a BSer like the rest of them. And I told it like it was. I mean, these interviews, look at nowadays, these interviews, you've got script writers that tell these guys what to say. Nobody told me what to say. I could say whatever I wanted to.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you could
imagine.
imagine.
I did say what I want. And if they didn't like it, I'd still say it. What are they going to do? Fire me? Go ahead. Turner and them would have jumped on me so quick, it's ridiculous. I would have made more money, too.
Wow. And again, we are speaking to the legendary Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Paul, I want to ask you a question. The wrestling business today, overall the business, and just a comparison from this point of view. Last Saturday, they had a Saturday night's main event, which did awful in the ratings. However, back, when you ruled the world, when Saturday night's main event first came on the air, and for several years, when you were back there, especially your famous cage match with Hogan, you guys dominated. You were such a part of popular culture. What do you think the difference is between now and yesteryear, why people are tuning out and not tuning in like they used to?
Talent. They have no talent.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon has no competition. Listen, competition's good.
Yeah.
Whenever you have no competition, then you can throw whatever at the people, and if you don't like it, so what?
Yeah.
Well, I've been telling people this, and they've been telling me how bad the matches are, and they don't even watch wrestling no more. Well, you see a lot of people out there, and supposedly a lot of people, the arena, or they cut the arenas down to about 1/4 of what they normally are, and you only see what they show you, and the tickets are free. We never gave away tickets.
Yeah.
Good gracious. So he's got the populace, he's got the people out there, and a competition. I wish that Fox, Murdoch would get out there and start wrestling, because if he did, with the older talent and the people out there that know about wrestling and how to get it back are out there.
Yeah.
And I don't mean in the sense that they would have to wrestle, but they know how to put on a wrestling show and to get the right people. And it's going to continue to be this way until these guys go and learn the art of the trade, and learn how to work these people and learn how to, hey, I could still go out there and make these people mad at me.
Yeah.
It doesn't make no difference where they think it's phony or this or that. It's how believable you make it look.
Yeah. A lot of fans over the last couple of, when your name would come up in the air, fans would say, what have you been up to since WCW closed? What have you been up to since WCW closed?
I've been loving on my grandbabies. I've been changing these poopy diapers.
God love you. That's great.
Hey, listen, I got children all over there. I've raised my 3 grandchildren. I got babies. I got grandchildren. I'm a great-granddad now, and I'm loving it. I'm loving being at home, but I'm bored at the sense, too. I'm bored. I've gotten hurt, and all these injuries are coming back. And but all in all, thank God I'm okay, and my family's doing great, and I'm doing okay. I'm doing great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. When I had Bill Watts on the show a couple of years ago, and he's one of my favorite guests. I really like Bill Watts a lot.
Me too.
Excellent. He told he said a lot of great things about you, and he told the infamous story about you and Ted DiBiase going for the hour.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, what do you remember about that?
Yeah, Jackson, Mississippi. I'll never forget it. Bill, I like Bill Watts. A lot of people didn't like Bill Watts. A lot of people didn't like Ole Anderson, but I liked him. And they told it like it was, and they treated you. They treated you like you were an athlete, and I liked them.
Yeah.
I had words with both of them. No big deal, but at least they let me say what I thought and didn't fire me because of it, or didn't knock me down, or, mess with my pay or this or that. He didn't do that. But Bill, he put me and DiBiase together, and we were 2 guys that were just wanting to go at it, man. I mean, it was me and it was him, and we went at it for an hour straight. And I'll tell you what, it was with the amount of time, that experience that I had, and because Ted was ahead of me, and we ended up, we didn't think we could do it, and I'll be darned if we didn't do it. You know, we did do it, and here again, I worked with Harley Race many times, and he would go an hour. I went an hour and 15 minutes with Harley.
Wow.
And just that experience to work with somebody like Harley, the experience he had, the knowledge he had, and then when you had to go out, and like me and Ted, two young bulls, went out and did it. That's how you learn. And I learned that, and I remembered that, and I remembered this and that about that match. Wow. And we just tore it up. Tore it up, man. One of the best matches I ever had. Thanks to Bill Watts. I love Bill Watts. He gave me, he gave me such confidence. He let me grow. Ernie Ladd was there as his booker. First angle I ever had was with Ernie Ladd. And Ernie has passed away now, and I really had a lot of respect for Ernie Ladd. I really did.
Wow.
And that's how you learn. And I wasn't different than anybody else. I just worked harder.
Wow. Now, you were in the main event of the very first WrestleMania, as a lot of fans know. How surprised are you that, 20-plus years later, WrestleMania has turned into the Super Bowl of wrestling?
Well, Bill Watts had that same vision.
Yeah.
When he ran the Superdome, and I was, main event in two of those. When Bill Watts, and worked with Bruiser Brody, and oh man, see what happens when you get knocked around so much. And I can't think of the other guy.
JYD, maybe?
No. There we go. Anyway, I worked with them, both of those guys.
Sure.
And that's got to mean something.
Yeah.
When you're in the WrestleMania, the first one, out of all the people there that they could have picked, I was one of them. That's who they wanted in it. And then Vince did the same thing. But yet, I don't even need to get into this, that with them, because the belts,
Sure.
I should have had that belt. There's no doubt about it.
I think there was a lot of money left on the table, by you not having it.
Right.
Most definitely.
Right. Exactly.
Well, you know what, Paul? I don't know about you, but I would love to give the fans an opportunity to call up and ask you some questions.
All right, if you got any out there, they all may be too old now.
Oh, no, we have them. I mean, whenever I have anybody on the show, even going back to the Kowalskis, the Brunos, we get the fans calling in. So I'm going to give my producer a minute or so just to get the calls together, but the lines are already ringing off the hook. So, I've
heard you got big ratings.
We do well.
I did my homework.
9 years. We're going into our 9th year on the air here.
That's super. That's super.
Yeah, it's very.
You've built up a good show. You've gotten good people on there, and that's why that's why you do. And mainly you're the guys in the last 15 years. Our style and everything. It lined up with the people, and it was probably one of the golden years of wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was just to grow up when I did watching wrestling. I'm in my 30s. I mean, yeah. I got the best of it. I got wrestling at its best, I think.
And not only that, you got the party, and I'm not cutting down none of the older guys that was in the 50s and 60s or whatever. There's nothing about that. But it just each generation is different, and back then they were as we are in our generation.
Yep.
And we just had a bunch of guys, a bunch of really, really good workers and guys that wanted to make money in that era.
Yeah.
You know, the end of the 70s and then the 80s and the beginning of the 90s somewhat.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to go to the phones, and I'm going to ask the fans and listeners when you call in, just to keep things moving, when you come on the air, say hello to Mr. Wonderful, ask your questions, and then if you could hang up, and then we'll get into a response on the air, and that way we can get as many fans and listeners in as possible. We're going to go to Michigan for our first call. Scott from Michigan is on hold. Scott, you're on the air with Mr. Wonderful.
Hey, Mr. Wonderful, how you doing?
Hey, Scott, what's up, brother?
Hey, how you doing, sir? It's an honor to talk to you.
Living in your world, man.
All right. Give my question now. You talked about the scripted interviews before as a big problem in the wrestling business today. What do you think about the business becoming like a body business, so to speak, where everybody's a bodybuilder now? And of course, you had a good cosmetic look, but you were talented with the fans, and you could read fans, and you were very charismatic in your interviews. But most of these bodybuilders aren't. I mean, what is your take on the problem with all these wrestlers coming in now, being not athletic, but just being big bodybuilder-like guys?
All right,
well,
thanks,
what
Scott.
he's trying to do is to get the people to look. You know, it's a shock. It's kind of a shock thing, you know. Man, this guy's got a great body, you know, and that's what he's doing. They either got great bodies with hair, or they got great bodies with no hair, or they got great bodies with tattoos, or they got good bodies with no tattoos. So, and that's what they're trying to do, is to get your to catch your look, to get your look, to look at this person that has a great body with no talent. And that's because that's all that they can do. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That we had characters. We had King Kong Bundy. We had Andre. We had people that were in character. John Studd. You know, we had all these different characters that are all different body types and everything. But you can't have everybody with a great body. It just doesn't mix. It's like oil and water. It don't mix. And people know that. I mean, you know, it's okay to have some, but everybody? Nah.
You know, it's so great to hear you say that, because I've said that a lot, that it's almost, when you watch the television nowadays, it's like you're watching a factory. You know, everybody looks exactly the same, does the same thing, same haircut, and there's no Kamalas, Bundys, Andres.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
Keep going, brother. I'm with you.
Yep.
I can't remember what I'm thinking half the time, so you say it for me and I'll agree. How's that?
That works. All right. Well, I want to thank Scott for checking in from Michigan, and we'll go locally here to Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. And Vince, you're on the air with Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff.
Thank you for taking my phone, Clark, and hello, Mr. Wonderful. Hey, Mr. Wonderful.
Vince, put your phone on. I can't hear you real good.
Vince. Paul's got a question for you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
It's hard to hear you.
If you can't hear him, I'll repeat his question for you.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Wonderful, besides his athletic build, you also had a nice tan and a robe. I think you were Ric Flair before he was Ric Flair.
Well, no. Yeah. Okay, it just registered. Yeah, I never took nothing from him. To me, first of all, I always had tans, man. I'm from Florida. I'm not from Minnesota. And I'm from Florida. I always took care of myself. I trained every day. I laid out in the sun. I worked in the sun. I dug ditches. I did whatever I had to do to make a living. And that's why I had my tan. And the robe, I've always wanted to get a robe, and I couldn't afford one. And then finally the day came that I had Olivia Walker, Mr. Wrestling 2's wife, made my robe. And that's when I had my robe, and it wasn't real fancy. It had a few little glitters and this on, but I had the body to back it up, and that's what made that. That's what made it work for me, Vince. Is that the body backed it up, and I I could back it all up with the attitude and the the meanness and all that goes with it, and that's why it worked really good for me. You can have a body, you can have a robe and no body, and it's a joke.
Yeah.
So, with me, I could say it like it was, and it wasn't a joke. Everything I said was true.
And I want to say something about the robe. First of all, let me give the phone numbers out. I should have done that earlier for the people that want to call in. Toll free at 1-888-922-2149. That's 888-922-2149, or locally at 215-949-3232. Speaking of the robe, one thing that I've never seen anybody else do except yourself is you used the robe, in everything that you did, the way that you slowly took the robe off, the way that sometimes your opponents would grab the robe and put it on, the way that you would just, touch your robe. I mean, it was just such a great tool for you that nobody, people come in the ring, they take their robe off. You were just a master.
Well, yeah, you're right. I was a master. And, but that's because I watched everybody else and I wanted to be different. I wanted to be different. I wanted to be different in the ring, what I done, what I said, and how I went about doing my job. And that's it. If you did it the old conventional way, I can tell you what, I wasn't going to, because I didn't want to be like everybody else. I didn't want to be like Gorgeous George. I didn't want to be, I might have be him a little bit, but I didn't want to be him, the whole way, because everybody had robes and everybody done this and everybody done that. You can't help that if you weren't born yet.
Yeah.
But I did mine different because I had the whole deal. I had the body, I had the interview, I had the looks, I had it all. And I had it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was nowhere that I was weak. Nowhere.
Absolutely.
And that's what made promoters mad, because they couldn't control me. They couldn't control me.
Yeah. Like you said, what are they going to do? Fire you and lose money for themselves?
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, when you went to I heard a story that when you first signed with the WWF with Vince Sr., that you actually were sent to Japan for the first couple of weeks of your contract. Is that true?
Well, I was sent over there with them for about 7-8 months.
Wow.
At that time, I was with Turner.
Okay.
And Georgia Wrestling.
Oh, okay.
And at this time, when all this big feud was getting ready to happen between Vince taking over the world and the Grahams and the guy, the fella
Watts,
and all these places all over Florida, all these everywhere, the territories. They were having meetings and this and that and wanting to know what they were going to do, and and they were pushing some of us to signing contracts. Well, with Georgia, they wanted me to sign a contract, but no guaranteed money or nothing.
Huh.
Just to sign a contract. And I went, no, I ain't signing no contract. And then I get this call from Vince McMahon Sr., and we talked, and I like gambles. I like to do something that's different. The idea of Vince's son taking over and having all the big shows and all this and the visions they had, and to be a part of it, if it worked, it'd been great. If it didn't, I'd still, hey, listen, they're going to hire you. Regardless if you're good.
Right.
And of course I might have been blackballed, I don't know, but I know this, that I would have still had a job up there in New York, because Vince had such a stronghold up there, and there was nobody going to take that territory away. He was just too strong politically and everything else. So I knew that I thought it was a win-win. It was a gamble, me leaving the South, but I did. And he said, I'll send you to Japan until we start up. And in agreement, he guaranteed I'd make more money than you've ever made. And he guaranteed it. And I did it.
Wow.
And that's what happened.
Wow.
He kept his word.
Excellent. We are going to go back to the phones as Steve from Bristol is waiting to talk to Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Steve, you're on the air with Paul Orndorff. Hello, Steve. Oops.
Doing the power stuff.
Oops. Can you start over again?
Being the trainer for WCW with Sean O'Hare, Stasiak, young guys. What did you think of what Vince did to them when they got up to his company?
That's a great question, actually.
I can't tell you a lot because I don't watch it anymore. I know he did use them there for a while, but I can tell you that they had talent. They had good talent. And Stasiak was, a good one, and Palumbo, they were good, and I thought they had talent. And but then again, it doesn't matter if you have talent anymore. And I can't really tell you what he did to them, other than he used them for a while. Then after that, I guess he got rid of them. And that's about all I know. I'm sorry, but I just don't watch it.
Now, as a fan, I remember back watching when you very first came into WCW, and you didn't come in with they didn't promote you as the great Paul Orndorff that I remembered from watching in the WWF. I would expect somebody like yourself to come in and be right in the main events, right in the title situation. Why do you think that was?
Well, I got hurt. You got to remember I'd gotten hurt, and my body. I still had to work. I still worked.
Sure.
But that's. I worked in the office. I did both. I was in the office, and after getting hurt the way I was hurt, it took a lot out of me. It did, and I never was the same after that, to be honest, neither. And I don't hold that against them or anything like that at all. Although I could have been in a better position, I could have been, and I should have been. But
yeah,
that's okay. It's no big deal.
Yeah,
I have no qualms over it.
What was it exactly? How did you get hurt? Was it just an accumulation of football and wrestling injuries, or was it one specific match where something went wrong?
No, it was one specific match. It was in Canada, and I got kicked under the chin, and out of a stupid mistake on somebody else's part. And I don't know if it was just out of stupidness or what, but it was really a stupid mistake that this person made.
Yeah. Now, one of the stories that you're infamous for outside of the ring is the fight you had with Vader. And what do you remember about that and how that all went down?
The last thing I remember, I was kicking him in the face with my flip-flops on. And it hurt.
Wasn't it true? Who was it? Was it Ming or Haku that had to pull you off?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, they had a lot of people there, but one of those unfortunate things that happened, and the only thing I'm thankful for is that if my body wasn't hurt and I didn't have all the nerve damage on my right, God knows I might be in jail for killing him.
Wow.
But I ain't taking nothing off for nobody, I don't. I'm not saying I'm the baddest man in the world, but I'm going to fight you.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. He sucker punched me, and we went at it. And it was a real deal.
Wow.
Yep.
We're going to go.
It is, though.
Yep.
It's the way it happens sometimes.
Wow. We're going to go back to the phones. The Rat Boy is on the phone. Rat, you're on the air with Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
Hello, Paul.
Hey, man.
What's up? What's up? Hey, Eric, today's horse race. You ready?
All right.
Curling all the way.
All right, there you go. You got a question for Mr. Wonderful?
Yeah, I want to know if you still own that bowling alley down in Georgia.
Oh, there you go. Thanks for checking in. Do you still own that bowling alley down in Georgia?
No, I got rid of that probably about 10 years ago. And I don't know. It was doing great and everything. I just got away from it. I didn't want the headaches. And, you know, I'm a pretty simple guy. And it was more headaches than I wanted to put up with. And I ended up selling them. I had 2 of them and got rid of both of them.
Wow.
But I had a good time and had a lot of people at Vander Holyfield and used to come and bowl with me all the time. I had a lot of basketball players that played for Atlanta, you know, the Hawks.
Sure.
Came and played football players. I had a bunch of people there, and I had a good place. No alcohol or anything, and I had a lot of churches come in there, and I just had a good place, good family place.
Awesome.
It did real well.
Awesome. Well, Paul, I can't believe it. I'm looking up at the clock, and it's just about 1 o'clock. It seems like I just started this interview 2 minutes ago. I mean, talk about a fast hour.
Well, we need to do it again, Eric.
Oh, my goodness, it would be an honor. I would love to have you back on the show.
Yeah, man, we need to talk to the people more.
Definitely, most definitely. Next time we do 1 hour all with the people.
That'd work for me.
Excellent. Well, Paul, it really has truly been an honor having you on the show. We'll talk, and I'd love to get you back on in a few weeks. And it's truly an honor and a pleasure.
Well, thank you, and thank for all the people out there that called in and that they respected and my talents and my work. And listen, if it hadn't have been for them, you know, I wouldn't have been nothing. And I truly mean that. That's why I work so hard in the ring, so they got their money's worth.
Wow. Well, you're the best. You're the best. And I wish you nothing but the best, and we'll definitely have you back soon.
God bless you and everybody else out there.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Take care. The legendary Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Wow, that was a fast hour. I mean, truly fast. I have a whole sheet of questions that I have yet to get to, but we'll definitely have him back, and we'll have him back for the whole entire hour. Just what a true honor. The good news is I am on the air until 1:30 today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break at 1 o'clock for the news, and when we come back from the news, I'll take your calls, and we'll talk about Paul Orndorff. We'll talk about all the latest news and all that good stuff. I know Ted's on hold. If you want to hang in there, I'll bring you on right after the break. And the phones are ringing, and we'll have a good time up until 1:30 today. There's a lot to talk about, and we'll hear more Paul Orndorff interviews and promos in the next half of the show as well. That will about do it for me for the first half. We'll see you after the news at 1:05 right here on WBCB.
I am the man that made the WWF what it is today. I am the man that made Philadelphia what it is today. Junkyard Dog, I'm going to teach you a good lesson tonight. I'm going to teach you what the old Mr. Wonderful is all about. All you are is just an obstacle in my way. You might as well learn to like the fact that Hulk Hogan isn't going to be your world's heavyweight champion. That the Junkyard Dog is just another piece of meat out there. That's all he is. Just another piece of overcooked meat. And I'm going to show you people out there exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm really going to show you people out there something a little different. The old Mr. Wonderful is back.
What you gonna do? Wrestling God. WBCB presents. That's cool. Are you talking to me? Pro Wrestling Radio. Come get some. Can you feel it? Oh, the damn phone. Call in with a question or comment. 6-1. Just bring it. What is he doing? At 1-888-922-2149. Oh, it's true. Don't make me hurt you. Awesome. To be the man, you got a dance hard time. I hate your ever. And now your host of the show,
That's how I roll.
All right, welcome to part 2 of Pro Wrestling Radio on this very special Saturday. I will be taking your calls up until 1:30, and then at that time I will turn the reins over to my man, Bill Melody. Let me give the numbers. I'll throw some topics out there. 1-888-922-2149. Again, 1-888-922-2149 to get in on the radio show. And, wow. What a first show. What a first hour with Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. I mean, I just really love that guy. That guy is just the greatest in and out of the ring. And what a true honor and a pleasure. And for anybody that tried to get in with a question for Mr. Wonderful, I will definitely have him back on the air. And the great news is he is just the start of a summer-long series of interviews. We're going to kick things off. We kicked it off today. Over the next several weeks, I'm going to have more guests on the show. Tentatively scheduled next Saturday, Psycho Sid Vicious. Although I'm not going to call him Psycho. Former WWE and WCW World Heavyweight Champion Sid Vicious, one of the most controversial figures in the sport of professional wrestling. Tentatively scheduled next Saturday. I have a couple of other backups, if not. Over the next couple of weeks, Greg Valentine, Bruno Sammartino, Bobby Heenan. And I want to ask you out there if there's somebody from the past that you would love to hear come on Pro Wrestling Radio. Give me some ideas for some guests out there, and I'll try and make it happen. We could talk about the draft this coming Monday. It's a big, big day for the WWE. They're going to try and shake things up, and this year's draft definitely doesn't have the kind of luster that past year's drafts have had, but this coming Monday is the draft. We could also continue to talk about UFC 71. How about Brock Lesnar and his impressive mixed martial arts debut? We could talk about it Saturday night's main event, one night stand last weekend, and as well, if you want to pay tribute to Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, if you have any memories or any thoughts on what Paul had to say or watching Paul on tape or DVD, I would love to hear from you as well. So without any further ado, let's go back to the phones. Ted from Virginia is on hold. Ted, how are you?
Hey, what's going on, Eric?
Not too much. Well, Ted, I finally got you on first. Unfortunately, it's in the second half of the show.
Yeah, I had called in earlier because, like I said, I grew up watching Paul Orndorff when he was over at Georgia Championship Wrestling.
He was right in your neck of the woods there.
No, I used to watch Paul Orndorff. I had his autograph. I remember him wrestle Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer.
Wow. Wow.
Paul Orndorff is, like I said, top quality. And, if you really look at it, he was a smaller version of Hulk Hogan, but with way more athleticism, skill, and legitimate, athletic pedigree, because Paul Orndorff played football.
Yes.
I just thought that, he was just one of those, and he was good on the stick and everything. But I think I wanted to ask him, because I wasn't able to hear the show because I'm away from my computer, but whatever happened with Paul Orndorff's arm? Because I think that's what really kind of hurt him afterwards, because he had the physique and everything else, Eric. That's just a real quick question.
Well, you're absolutely right, and we did talk about that, actually. And, and he and I, we talked a little bit about it over the phone and setting up the interview, and that he had said when he left and came into WCW, by that time, he was already hurt, and he was just kind of winding down his career at that point. And he said that it came from an accident in a match, and he said it was in Canada. I forget the town. He just said it about 10, 15 minutes ago. He said somebody, I know the name, but since he didn't drop the name, out of respect, I'll keep it quiet. But somebody kicked him in the chin, he said, and he thinks it was out of carelessness or whatever. And at that point in time, that was the injury that kind of atrophied his arm and hurt his neck for the remainder of his career.
Yeah, because, like I said, that was a guy who had, world champion like Barry Windham or somebody like that written all over him. But Brock Lesnar, though,
yes.
Why do you think that's not getting as much press as it should?
Because the guy, first of all, because I think the show itself really didn't translate into mainstream media as UFC does. And I think his opponent, the change in opponent at the last minute and his opponent not being somewhat of a name, I don't think people really care.
Yeah, that's how I kind of looked at it, too. But the thing about it, though, I saw it. Brock looked good. Brock is legitimate. And right now, there's nobody in WWE that I would want to see in a ring more than Brock Lesnar. Can you compare John Cena to Brock Lesnar?
Oh, not at all.
And see, and that's the thing, and Vince knows it. Brock Lesnar has so much, the mainstream follows Brock Lesnar, and I just think that, if the other organization could get him, it would be good. But I really want Brock to train because I don't want him to end up being, that Bart Gunn and end up getting this clock cleaned by somebody.
Right. And, the thing about Brock is I'm really curious to see. I think that was a great opponent for him for his first match because, they didn't go overboard by putting somebody. I think he would have had a harder time with his original opponent.
His original opponent could have beat him. His original opponent, has taken out, a couple of wrestlers.
Yes.
So this guy is not, is no joke. And so, but I think Brock has that, like I said, that athleticism, that speed, and he's monstrous strong. So I'm really looking at him in, to do some good things. And just like Big Papa Pump, I was wondering what's up with that, the thing on his chest, that tattoo.
Yeah, it's interesting, huh? Oh, wait a minute. I want to ask you this, though, and this just popped in my head. Finishing up on Brock Lesnar, after watching him last Saturday actually doing it in the MMA world, how quick do you think a match between him and Kurt Angle would end?
I would say, legit, real-wise, the match wouldn't... I don't think that it would probably a minute. And the thing about Kurt Angle is from all accounts, I don't think Kurt Angle can pass the physical, and that's what really took out Hangman Choi. Something's wrong with Kurt Angle, and when that happens, I think, Eric, you're going to have a show dedicated to it because Vince didn't let him go for no reason.
Exactly. Like Paul Orndorff, but Paul Orndorff was just saying, all the problems that he had with promoters, back in his day, he said they wouldn't fire him because, he was drawing money. And the same thing for Kurt Angle. So for him to let Kurt Angle go, at such a value to him, there's definitely way more to that than meets the eye.
It is way more than it. And the thing about it is like today, Paul Orndorff would have been at Dr. James Andrews' office, just like Hunter and all these guys.
Yeah.
And Kurt Angle, he has that money, and Kurt Angle is able to mask what happened to him. But at the same point in time, something has happened to Kurt Angle, and, I just don't know, what it is. They're not disclosing it. They're letting the man go off on his merry way. But I see that as something that, Eric, you're gonna have. I don't want to have no premonition, but I think something bad could happen there because the man cannot get on with a second life. And moving on to that, I would love for you to have Hitman Hart.
Ah, that's a good one. I had him back 7 years ago. I had him on. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to see him at a convention in Jersey, so I'm going to try and put that together.
Yeah, that guy is, he's always, a class act. And when you look back at wrestling, because that's a good thing about history and everything, when you look back and you watch Bret Hart's matches versus Kurt Hennig and all of that, this is a guy who can really, really go. And I think that's one of the problems with John Cena to this day is that John Cena cannot have that kind of match with someone. He can have it with a Shawn Michaels, but the thing about it is that if a person watches wrestling enough, like me and you, Eric, you can see when someone is being carried, and that's what's happening with him.
Oh, sure. There are guys, Bret Hart can go out there and have a great match with anybody. You can't say that about John Cena.
You cannot say that about John Cena. But another person that I used to get on, but I'm going to give him his props, I wouldn't be a man if I didn't, is doggone Batista been mailing in some good performances.
You know what? You are absolutely right. And he's been doing it rather quietly. The series with Undertaker and the series with Edge, he's really turned it up quite a few notches, I think.
Oh, no, most definitely, really, a lot of notches. And, I think that what I would really like to see with him right now, but I don't know why they're not doing it, is, mate, this is an insider question, Eric, but why don't they have him going after Mark Henry?
Who, Batista?
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I had an insider answer. I really don't know.
You know, because wasn't his injury caused against Mark Henry?
You know what? I think you're right, actually, now that you break it down. That kind of slipped my mind, and... you know what? You're right. Actually, Ted, I hate to cut you off, but I got to take my final break.
Okay, Eric, but hey, all's good, and I'm definitely going to call in. And Mr. Wonderful, like I said, that's a class act. You're really starting it off hot.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I hope you can get in next week with Psycho Sid.
Oh, yeah. I don't. If you're going to address the Arn Anderson incident, that's going to be something. Plus a couple of other things, the Chris Benoit incident too. I really would like to see that. Yeah.
How about having him on the air answer Ric Flair's comments that he was an embarrassment to the Horsemen?
Yeah, that would be good. But like I said, Sid is just like Jerry Lawler, a great softball player. A lot of people may not know that, but Sid's a great, almost pro-level softball player. But I don't think that comment by Ric Flair is justified because, Sid's trying to do what he had to do, and they had Paul Roma in the dang Horsemen, so,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, Ted, have a great weekend. Always a pleasure hearing from you.
All right, take care, Eric.
All right, take care of yourself. All right, we're going to take a quick and final time out, and we will be on the air until 1:30. And then at that time, I will turn it over to my man, my partner in crime, Bill Melody. When we come back from the break, we will get in Rob from New York, Sean, locally in the area, and I'll try and squeeze in as many calls as possible at 1-888-922-2149. That's 888-922-2149, or locally at 215-949-3232. We are talking about everything and anything and celebrating the storied career of Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. You're listening to Pro Wrestling Radio in a few places. Number one, on the internet at WBCB1490.com. My website at ProWrestlingRadio.com. But on the air on WBCB 1490 AM.
He wants the belt. He wants the bread. Is that not true?
That's very true. Gino, the ultimate goal in every man's profession is to be the number one man at the top of that ladder. And I feel like right now I am. I'm right up there with Hogan. Matter of fact, I think I'm a little better than him. I know that I'm a little better than Hogan because I know more about wrestling. He's the type of a guy that uses his size and his strength. I'm the type of man that uses his intelligence, his wrestling moves, just like you were in your days, in your amateur days and stuff. I have a good amateur background, and I would like to have that world's heavyweight belt, and I will have that world's heavyweight belt sooner or later. And if you look at my win-loss column, you'll see, Gino, that I've won more matches than anybody here. I have yet to be beaten. I just proved it just a few minutes ago. I can go out and I can wrestle, I can go out and I can brawl. It makes any difference. But I've beaten everybody there's been to beaten, and you're right. Hulk Hogan, Santana, and these people, I can't hardly get matches with them. I have to back them in the corner before they're good matches. As far as I'm concerned, they're closet champions. They don't want to come out and say, hey, I'll give Paul Orndorff a champion. They say, no, I have to go before the WWE board. But if they go by my win-loss column, I've beaten everybody here. Why shouldn't I have tonight? I should have a title match.
And now back to more Pro Wrestling Radio and your host of the show, Eric Gargiulo.
All righty, thank you very much. A couple of quick notes before we get to Rob and Sean, who are on hold. Number one, again, next week we will be on for an extended show, and Sid Vicious, the scheduled guest, although I haven't been able to 100% lock that in, so I have a couple of backups just in case that does not happen. My website is ProWrestlingRadio.com. That's ProWrestlingRadio.com. And if you missed any of the earlier interview with Paul Orndorff, as well as the last couple of weeks of Pro Wrestling Radio, you can catch it on ProWrestlingRadio.com. I will have coverage next Saturday as well of the Crazy 8 Tailgate Party live from Philadelphia, Pro Wrestling Unplugged. I'm a part of that big event. I will also have a pair of tickets to give away next Saturday. As a matter of fact, if you want the pair today, if you can get in and you want them, I'll take care of you. And that's going to be a big show. Burt Ward, Bill, remember Burt Ward, Robin, Batman and Robin? Burt Ward's going to be there, actually. Wow. Yeah, I'm telling you, bring your cameras. Burt Ward will be in the building. And again, ProWrestlingRadio.com is my website. All right, let's go to Rob from New York. Rob, how are you, pal?
How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Indie plugs of the week for the next few weeks because I don't know, I might be on next week, but then again, I'll just throw it down just in case. Tonight, there's the big Jersey All-Pro show in Rahway with Low-Key versus AJ Styles for the title. Jay Lethal and Azriel take on the LAX for the tag belts. Samoa Joe, Arcadia, Grim Reaper, B-Boy, Eddie Kingston, Slick Wagoner Brown, they'll all be there. Next week, I'll give you the indie plug of the week. I'm giving it to PWU. That's going to be a loaded show.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
I really want to go to it, but the only problem is I don't got a ride.
I was going to say...
upstate New York, and if I did get a ride, I'd only be good for the tailgate party. I couldn't stay for the whole show.
No, I was going to say, if you can get down there, I'll hook you up with tickets.
I'll try. I mean, the thing is, like, I'm fighting temptation because I got, of course, Jersey.
Yeah.
I'm going to Jersey in 3 weeks. 2 weeks I'm going down to New Jersey for my typical thing, so I won't be on the radio show that day.
Well,
and that indie plug of the week for that week will be Defiant Pro Wrestling at the Dojo. I won't be at that show. I'll not be going to a show until next month.
Well, listen, if you decide you want to go down to the show next week, drop me an email and I'll take care of you.
Okay, great.
You got it.
I mean, I'll try my best because I really want to go to the show. It looks loaded.
Yeah.
Scorpio. That whole deal's it looks so loaded. I just really want to go down there so badly, but I got other things like, of course, my ride is the big problem. If I can't get a ride, it's hard for me to get down there, you know?
Sure, absolutely.
Also, I saw the pay-per-view. I was going to talk to you about last week, but last week was not available. I had to go to a defensive driving course.
Oh, okay.
So, and I saw the pay-per-view for UFC. I told you, Rampage, you couldn't sleep on him. He caught him on his feet, and eventually now he's the new champion. Now he's getting a shot at Hendo to become maybe the first unified champion.
It's amazing. It really is, and it just goes to show you, all these guys, I think, that went in there with Chuck Liddell, they feared his striking game. No matter what they said in their interviews, they feared it. But Jackson, I think he encouraged it, and Jackson knows what he's doing. He beat him once, he did it again, and wow, did he put him down ever so quickly.
Yes, I think that was. And then another thing is that I wonder what Dana White's been feeling because, he had something in control of Chuck. When Rampage won, I heard there was a lot of boos when he when he came out, he was booed.
Yeah.
He wasn't really that much of a favorite because everybody knew Chuck. Chuck had the credentials of being like the poster boy of UFC.
Yeah.
And now Rampage comes through and cleans his clock, and it's like, now it's like money match with him and Vanderlei because him and Vanderlei both come off of big losses.
Yeah.
Vanderlei lost to Hendo, and now Chuck losing the Rampage, there's a money match right there.
Well, I think what Dana sees, if Dana's a smart man, Dana sees a lot of money in the third matchup between Chuck and Quentin. So that's always a positive for business.
I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean, always rematches is always good. But the thing was Ken and Tito. We saw Ken beat 3 times. Tito beat Ken all 3 times. It's like if it was Randy and Chuck, when Randy won the first fight, Chuck won the second fight, then you have the rubber match. This is there's no rubber match. We already know that Rampage beat Chuck twice in a row. Chuck getting a rematch, it would be still uneven because you'd have to win again to really avenge the second loss,
Yeah, because if Chuck beats him, in their next match, then there's a 4th match. But if Chuck loses the next match, then he's in trouble because at that point in time, there's not much more you could do with Chuck Liddell in the in the title situation.
Yes, and I might be getting the. No, wait. I don't know if I'm going to be getting. I mean, depending on if I go down to the show, if I really, really can somehow get the ride, if I can, because I could get a ride, but like I said, it would be really short. It would be I'd only be able to stay for the tailgate party. I wouldn't be able to get inside the building, technically, because I'd have to come back up here to New York 3 hours from up here down to Philly. It's I don't know if I could do it. I mean, hopefully I can, but.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? I hope to see you. And like I said, if you can make it, I'll take care of you.
Great.
All right, listen, have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself out there.
You too. Have a good one.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye.
All right, and I think we're going to wrap things up with Sean. Sean's been on hold for a little while. Sean, how are you?
How you doing, Eric?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
That was a great interview. I really loved Paul Orndorff every time he comes on.
Thanks. I had a blast with him. I mean, we are definitely going to have him back because I just really, really like the guy.
And it's the hardest thing for anybody to do is be unique, and that's what he went out to drive to be.
Definitely.
And that's what he achieved it, absolutely.
Definitely.
The other guys, maybe I did a Hanson Jimmy Valiant interview. He's an awesome speaker.
Yeah, Boogie Woogie.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Larry Zbyszko, always a good person to get on.
Oh, for sure. Larry Zbyszko would be good. I had Larry on once before, real briefly, and he was great. And I met him at a Triple WA show, and he was a real engaging guy.
Well, it's going to be a Triple WA show at the end of the month. Him, Samoa Joe, and AJ Styles.
Wow, big bucks right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to call that one.
Oh, man, enjoy yourself.
That's absolutely the hardest thing, is to be unique. It's tough to find your way in this world, and to be unique and come off like Paul Orndorff did. It's just something special. Definitely. Listen, I'm up against the clock here, so I got to run, but hopefully you can get in next week. All right, check out the WorldWideWrestlingAlliance.com. All right, take care, buddy. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Wow, that will about do it for me, and I want to thank Bill Melody for making things happen behind the board. Bill will follow me with the best country music in the business. Stick around, because Bill will be playing country until 6 o'clock. He's back tomorrow from 5 to 10 a.m. He has his own website, BillMelody.com, and he is a published author, When Country Was Golden, and they can find that on your website. Correct, Bill? There you go, BillMelody.com. And then Brooks St. Ives and the Phillies later tonight. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next Saturday.
It was unreal. I went overboard.
Wow. I want to ask you, because, you know, the thing I noticed, and I think we talked about this on the phone a little bit, the thing I noticed about you, which was so different than everybody else, was the second you walked through the curtain, you were entertaining the audience just by the way you looked at them, by the way you moved, by the timing of the way you moved, and you were just so great at getting the audience not only to hate you, but to just cheer whoever it was, whether it was Hogan or Salvatore Bellomo, that you were wrestling. The fans just wanted them to beat you and beat you. And what I want to ask you is, can you credit anybody with mentoring you along the way as to how to be such a great heel?
You got to realize, what I did was this. Physically, the physical and the attitude and the viciousness and the meanness and all these things I had.
Right.
And what I did, and nobody gave that to me. That's just a God-gifted. I played football the same way. If I could knock your head off, I did.
Yeah.
I would. And I felt good about it.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth. That's the way I was. I can't help that. That's just the mentality that I had.
Sure.
But what I did is I picked a little from this guy. I picked a little from that guy. You know, I listened to Bob Orton Sr., Bobby's father, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And he told me what you do is you get everybody to watch you. You want the focus to be on you when you get in the ring. So whatever you do, you want everybody to be watching you, not the other guy. And that's what I did. So I would do things, and I knew that nobody had that type of what's that word? Endurance. To go out there and do and to do this and to do that without, I mean, just aggression, all the time, aggression, and things that just made people mad, and that just came natural. Ask my wife. I mean, my God, you know, I could do anything.
Wow.
And that make her mad, or anybody else mad. Just little this and little that, and the way you move your body, and the little just things that would just make the average person or anybody mad.
Yeah.
And I was good at it.
Do you think that...
And I'm too good at it.
Do you think in today's wrestling and the last couple of years, do you think that's a lost art form?
That if they had have done it and done it the right way, he would have been on a different level, higher than even he was. Maybe he would have drawn, you know, the second time around with other people. Who knows?
Sure.
And, you know, it would have been better for everybody. But
sure.
Yet, they didn't.
Yeah. If you break down the economics of it and you take inflation into account, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I have to think that you and Hogan, you know, taking the first run and especially the second run and just looking at the match you guys had in Toronto, I would have to think that as a feud, you guys drew more money than anybody.
Well, yeah, I think so too, and it's because we did it everywhere we went.
Yeah.
And we didn't do it the first time. And the second time, you know, we drew consistently, and our matches got better. And really, I made Hogan. That's simple. I made him.
Yeah.
And he knows it. But then again, you know, he made me too, in a way.
Right.
And it was good for wrestling. It was a lot better for Vince McMahon and Hogan than it was for me financially. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's life, and I like to do these shows like this. That way, I can express the way I feel.
Yeah.
And my attitudes with some things and people.
Sure.
And to have somebody, Eric, as knowledgeable as you are, because I don't do this to everybody, I'll be honest with you. And just to feel your talk and the way you said and the way you approached, if you're, you know, pulling the wool over my eyes, you did a good job. But I kind of believe in the way you talk and what you said, and so therefore that's why I honor you with doing this.
Wow, well, I have chills. I have chills with you saying that. I really do, because I just have so much respect for you that, again, I put you up there as number one. And I was saying this about you before you even agreed to come on the show. So.
Well, you know, I hear this from a lot of people, and a lot of people, even to this day. And, you know, people all say all these good things about certain things, but
sure.
People that was really knowledgeable, and you can tell some of them.
Yeah.
And I agree with them. I mean, I'm not going to say something that, oh, no, I didn't this or I didn't that. But, you know, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I worked too hard.
Yeah.
I worked so hard for it that at Santana, I had probably the best matches I've ever had with anybody was with Tito. And Tito, you know, was an ex-Kansas City, drafted by the Chiefs, and Tito had the same attitude as I had in the ring. You know?
Yeah.
The same attitude. And I felt the very same about him. And those comments, you know, Tito's a school teacher now. He's a coach, and Tito was very intelligent back then. I mean, Tito had a smart head on him, you know. Tito knew how to play the game, and I just wish that I could have played the game like Tito did and also keep his honor. And Tito did that into his people.
Yeah, yeah. I remember as a fan around that time where you were hot and Tito was hot. And just as a fan, I always wanted to see you guys matched up in a series, in a feud for the Intercontinental title, because even as a fan, I would watch your matches, and you were constantly go, go, go. Tito's matches were always constantly go, go, go. And as a match, I always wanted to see.
Well, you know, I wish they had it, but they didn't. We did wrestle against each other, but, you know, I would have loved to have done that. But I think that probably it would have taken away from everything else, because I wrestled Tito in a couple of places, and one of them was in California, L.A. And I'm telling you, when I picked Tito up, they were throwing oranges, they were throwing eggs. I had a guy, when I had him in the pile driver, and I had him picked up for the pile driver, a guy literally jumped in the ring, went by the security, and jumped on my back.
Wow.
And if it had to been for that guy, you know, Tito Santana would have got pile drove. But, you know, the police came, and it just happened to be a mess. And when the guy came in, and just as he was there, I gave him a good kick right in the mouth, and that kind of laid him out there, and they got him out. But still, it interrupted our match, and we didn't really get to finish it. But and that was the God's truth. What I just told you wasn't no lie. It was true. That really did happen.
Yeah, yeah.
We were made for each other. But Hogan too. had good matches with him. And it's no reflection of his talent and everything. And he was chosen. He was the chosen, and he did it. He, no disrespect to him, but he drew money. He drew a lot of money. He drew money with everybody. And but I also think, there was a time that.
With us now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, unfortunately unable to grasp the heavyweight championship from the Hulk.
Let me tell you something right now. It was a conspiracy. Everybody saw out there what happened. I had him beat on the pile driver. Did the referee go down and go 1, 2, 3? He went 1, 2, and he got up. He didn't even hit the freak out. The man was beat. Everybody knows he was beat. The fact is that Hulk Hogan did not pin me in the middle of that ring right there. I took everything he had to offer. Yeah, look at this, Hogan. You think you're going to get away with this, brother? There'll be another time. There'll be another place, Hogan. But you didn't beat me. I had to beat a conspiracy. Took 2 referees and 30,000 people. And you still didn't beat me. You still didn't beat me, Hogan.
A rather disgruntled Paul.
What's it gonna do? Wrestling God. That's killer. WBCB presents. That's cool. Are you talking to me? Pro Wrestling Radio. Come, get some. Can you feel it? Oh, the damn bull. Call in with a question or comment. 6-1. Just bring it. What is he doing? At 1-888-922-2149. Oh, it's true. Don't make me hurt you. Be awesome. Now be a man. You got a dance hard time. I hate your ever. And now your host of the show. That's how I roll. Excuse me. And that's the bottom line.
Good afternoon and welcome to a very special edition of Pro Wrestling Radio. We will be on for an extended show today up until 1:30. But for the first hour of the show, it will be a true honor as I am joined at this time by a man that gave me so much joy and so much entertainment as a fan growing up, going to the Philadelphia Spectrum every month, a man who just even up to a few weeks ago gave me enjoyment watching his tapes and DVDs from the 80s, the 90s, the 70s, one of, if not the greatest of all time. He is a Hall of Famer, Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff. Paul, welcome to the show.
Hey.
How are you?
I love that introduction. And everything you said, Eric, everything you see, you're a man that knows. And there are people out there that knows the truth. There's no doubt about it. I should have been the world heavyweight champion.
You really should.
WWF, and you are exactly right.
You really should have been. I've been watching tapes over and over again, and you and I talked about this in setting up the interview, and I've been talking about you for the last couple of weeks here on the radio show, and just watching your matches now from a different perspective, from a mechanics perspective, from a psychology perspective. I really think that you were the greatest heel of all time.
Well, I appreciate that, and people don't know the energy, the work, the blood that I put in that. I wasn't an entertainer. I tried to go out there and do it as real as it could possibly be done, better than it could be done by anybody else. None of this showboat and the golden robes and all this stuff that when you walk out and woo this and woo that. I didn't work that way. I was a street fighter, always have been when I was growing up. Played high school football, junior high football, college football scholarship, drafted by the Saints. That was the real deal. And it just goes to prove to you and to you people out there, and a lot of you other guys out there and you young people, that just because, you're the best at something, you don't always get what you want. And that was very frustrating to me, to work so hard, to be in the gym, to be, to have it all. Looks, I didn't have to dye my hair. I wasn't bald-headed. I wasn't fat. I mean, I should have had it. But yet, you got people, these promoters, that do the opposite because somebody stands up for what they think was right or wrong.
How involved? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And that's where I stood at. You know.
Yeah.
I'm too serious, I guess.
You know, it's interesting, and you just made an excellent point when you brought up the fact that you were out there fighting, and your matches, it was like watching as close to a fight as you could possibly get. And I want to tell you something that one of your peers, Tito Santana, recently said about you. He recently said, I was watching an interview with Tito, and somebody had asked him about Hulk Hogan, and he said the problem with Hulk Hogan was the first time around, he didn't draw money like Bruno and Backlund did on the rematches. However, when Hogan was wrestling you guys drew so much money, and you were the best drawing opponent for Hogan because you were the only one that had the credibility where people realized and people knew you could beat him.
Well, and I've said this many, many, many times about Tito's